The crystalline spires of New Singapore's orbital station pierced the star-studded darkness of space, their iridescent surfaces reflecting the light of Earth below. Jade Williams stood at the observation deck, adjusting her formal diplomatic attire, a fusion of traditional African patterns with modern Earth Alliance design. At 32, she'd have become the youngest chief diplomat in Earth's history, but this assignment tested even her considerable skills. The Centennial Galactic Summit would mark humanity's first major appearance on the interstellar political stage. After decades of careful technological advancement and colonial expansion, Earth could no longer be ignored by the older spacefaring civilizations. Jade's dark fingers traced the ancient ivory pendant at her neck, a family heirloom that had seen generations of Williams women through their greatest challenges. Ambassador Williams, a melodic voice chimed from behind her. The celestial delegation has arrived. Jade turned to face her assistant, Rani, whose holographic form flickered slightly in the station's artificial gravity field. "Thank you, Rani. Time to show the galaxy that humanity isn't just some cosmic footnote." The Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with activity as representatives from over 50 alien species gathered. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others moved on multiple appendages, and a few existed as pure energy contained within specialized suits. Jade moved through the crowd with practiced grace, her natural diplomacy earning respectful nods from even the most ancient species. Then she saw him. Prince Zorax of the Celestial Empire stood nearly 7 feet tall, his crystalline skin catching and refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. Unlike the other Celestials, whose skin took on pale blue or green hues, his sparkled with deep purple undertones, a mark of royal breeding. His face, though alien in its angular beauty, held an intelligence that caught Jade off guard. Their eyes met across the chamber. His 3 pupils, arranged in a perfect triangle, dilated slightly, the celestial equivalent of surprise. Jade felt her heart skip a beat, but maintained her diplomatic composure. The Celestial Empire was known for its technological superiority and their belief in their own genetic perfection. They had been one of the strongest opponents to Earth's inclusion in galactic affairs. Ambassador Williams, Prince Zorax's voice resonated at a frequency that seemed to touch her very bones. "I was unaware Earth had progressed enough to send such interesting representatives." Jade smiled, recognizing the subtle insult, but choosing to transform it. "Your Highness, humanity has always been interesting. We just needed the right moment to share that quality with the galaxy." A slight shimmer rippled across his crystalline features, something Jade couldn't quite interpret. "Indeed, though I wonder if sharing is truly in everyone's best interest. History suggests that isolation breeds stagnation, Your Highness. Even crystals need external forces to grow." The words left her lips before she could consider their boldness. Instead of taking offense, Prince Zorax tilted his head, the motion sending cascades of light across his features. "You study our biology, Ambassador." "I study everything that might help Earth find its place among the stars." Their eyes locked again, and this time neither looked away. The moment was interrupted by the thunderous sound of the summit's opening ceremony. As delegates moved to their assigned positions, Jade couldn't help but notice how Prince Zorax's gaze followed her movement. She had prepared extensively for this summit, studied countless alien protocols and customs, but nothing had prepared her for the way her pulse quickened under his triangular gaze. As the first session began, dealing with trade routes and technological exchange protocols, Jade presented Earth's positions with clarity and confidence. But each time she spoke, she felt Prince Zorax's attention with an intensity that both unsettled and thrilled her. His own interventions were precise, and often contrary to Earth's interests, yet there was something in his tone, a subtle shift when addressing her, that suggested more than mere political opposition. During the evening's diplomatic reception, Jade found herself in the station's botanical gardens, a careful recreation of Earth's most beautiful plants alongside specimens from across the galaxy. She heard his distinctive crystalline resonance before she saw him. "Your arguments today were unexpected," Prince Zorax said, stepping out from behind a towering luminescent tree from his homeworld. "Humanity often is, Your Highness. We've survived and thrived by defying expectations." "Please," he moved closer, his crystal skin catching the garden's soft lighting, "call me Zorax, at least here, away from the political theatre." The request surprised her, but she nodded. "Then I'm Jade." "Jade," he repeated, the name taking on an almost musical quality in his voice. "Your Earth names often reflect your natural elements. How fitting. Jade is also a crystal, though quite primitive compared to our evolved forms." "Primitive doesn't always mean simple," she countered, meeting his gaze. "Sometimes the most basic forms hold the most surprising complexity." A pattern of light danced across his surface that she recognized from her studies, amusement, perhaps even admiration. "You continue to prove that point, Jade of Earth. I find myself curious about these complexities." The admission hung between them, weighted with implications that transcended mere diplomatic interest. Jade knew she stood at a crossroads, one that could affect not just her own fate, but potentially the relationship between their species. "Curiosity," she said softly, "is where all great discoveries begin." The garden's artificial night cycle began, dimming the lights to simulate evening. In the softer illumination, Zorax's crystalline form seemed to glow from within, casting subtle patterns across Jade's dark skin. Neither moved, caught in a moment that seemed to exist outside the complex political dance of the summit. Finally, Zorax spoke, his voice carrying an undertone she hadn't heard before. "Perhaps, Jade of Earth, we both have much to discover." The three suns of Celestia Prime cast prismatic shadows through the Imperial Palace's crystal walls, creating a dazzling display that would have captivated most visitors. But Jade Williams barely noticed, her attention focused on the heated debate unfolding before her. "The humans cannot be trusted with quantum fold technology," First Minister Crystal declared, her pale blue crystalline form vibrating with displeasure. "They are barely a century into space travel. Giving them access to our transportation networks would be like handing a plasma rifle to an infant." Jade maintained her diplomatic composure, though her fingers instinctively touched her grandmother's ivory pendant. "Earth has demonstrated responsible management of every technology we've acquired. Our safety protocols even impressed the Andromedan Science Council." Prince Zorax stood at the chamber's apex, his royal purple highlights seeming darker than usual. For the past 3 weeks, these negotiations had brought him and Jade into constant contact, each interaction charged with an electricity neither dared acknowledge openly. "Perhaps," he interjected, his resonant voice cutting through the tension, "we might consider a supervised implementation. The Earth Alliance has shown unexpected adaptability." Their eyes met across the chamber, and Jade felt that now familiar flutter in her chest. Since their encounter in the garden, every interaction had been layered with unspoken meaning, professional courtesy barely masking deeper currents. "Your Highness," First Minister Crystal's tone carried a warning, "your recent interest in human affairs has not gone unnoticed. Some wonder if your judgment remains unclouded." The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. Celestials didn't blush. Their emotions showed through changing light patterns beneath their crystalline skin. Right now, Zorax's surface rippled with dangerous intensity. "You overstepped, Minister," he said softly, but with an edge that made several delegates step back. "My judgment serves the Empire, as it always has." Jade seized the moment to demonstrate human diplomatic skill. "Perhaps we should recess for the solar alignment ceremony. I understand it's a sacred time for your people." The suggestion offered everyone a graceful exit from the growing tension. As the chamber emptied, Jade felt Zorax's presence behind her before he spoke. "Walk with me, Ambassador Williams." They moved through corridors that seemed grown rather than built, crystal formations creating natural archways and chambers. Palace staff, both celestial and robotic, bowed as they passed, though Jade noticed the crystalline one's light patterns flickering with what she'd learned to recognize as disapproval. "You handled Crystal well," Zorax said finally, leading them onto a private balcony overlooking the capital city. "Though she's not entirely wrong about my judgment being affected." Jade's heart braced, but she kept her voice steady. "How so?" "When I first met you, I thought I understood humans. Primitive, emotional, brief-lived, yet watching you these past weeks has." He turned to face her, his crystalline features catching the light of the setting suns. "You challenge everything I was taught to believe." "And is that a good thing?" Jade asked, taking a step closer. "I'm beginning to think it's an essential thing." His hand moved as if to touch her face, but stopped just short. "Your species burns so brightly, lives so intensely. You've accomplished in centuries what took us millennia." "Because we know our time is precious," Jade said softly. "Every moment matters." Like this one. The lights beneath his surface created patterns she'd never seen before, beautiful, chaotic swirls that seemed to reach toward her. Especially this one. Jade closed the distance between them, pressing her hand against his crystalline chest. Instead of cold mineral, she felt a warm vibration, almost like a heartbeat. The moment shattered as a royal aide materialized on the balcony. "Your Highness, the Imperial Council demands your immediate presence. There's been an incident in the human quarter." Reality crashed back. They were not just two beings sharing a connection. They were representatives of vastly different species and cultures, with responsibilities that extended far beyond their personal desires. "Go," Jade said, stepping back. "We both have duties." Zorax's surface rippled with frustration. "This conversation isn't finished, Jade of Earth." "I know." She offered a small smile. "We humans are also very persistent." After he left, Jade remained on the balcony, watching the three suns paint the crystalline city in impossible colors. Her diplomatic training had prepared her for nearly everything except this, falling for someone whose very biological nature defied human understanding. Her communicator chimed with an encrypted message from Earth Command. "Ambassador Williams, critical intelligence received. The celestial hardliners are planning something. Watch your back. Trust no one." Jade looked out over the alien city that had begun to feel like home, touching her grandmother's pendant once again. She'd come to Celestia Prime to bridge worlds, but now she faced the possibility that those same worlds might be torn apart, with her heart caught in the middle. In her quarters that evening, as she prepared for the upcoming solar alignment ceremony, Jade reviewed everything she knew about celestial culture. Their society valued order, predictability, and purity of form. Their crystal bodies could live for centuries, growing more complex and beautiful with age. Love, as humans understood it, was seen as a primitive emotion, replaced by carefully calculated genetic partnerships. Yet she'd seen something different in Zorax, and capacity for change, for feeling, that his people claimed to have evolved beyond. The question was whether that capacity would be enough to weather the storm she sensed approaching. A soft chime announced another message, this one bearing the royal seal. The stars themselves may shatter, but some forces cannot be denied. Meet me in the ancient grove after the ceremony. Z. Jade pressed the message to her heart, knowing that tomorrow would either bridge their worlds or break them both. The ancient grove pulsed with bioluminescent light, crystal trees older than human civilization, creating a maze of light and shadow. Jade moved silently through the paths, her dark formal robes blending with the night. The solar alignment ceremony had ended hours ago, but its energy still hummed through the crystalline structures of Celestia Prime. Her wrist computer vibrated with another warning from Earth Command. Multiple encrypted transmissions detected from Imperial Palace to restricted military zones. Exercise extreme caution. She silently thanked her technical team for the quantum-encrypted channel that kept her communications private from celestial surveillance. A familiar resonance touched her consciousness before she saw him. Ukane, Zorax emerged from behind a towering crystal formation, his royal purple highlights dimmer than usual, a sign of stress among his people. Against my better judgment, Jade replied, but stepped closer. My intelligence suggests your military is mobilizing, and mine suggests Earth is gathering a fleet at the edge of your territory. His triangular eyes studied her face. Are we destined to repeat the same cycles of mistrust that have plagued the galaxy for millennia? That depends on what you know about the Hardliners' plans. Jade met his gaze steadily, and what you're willing to do about them. Before he could respond, a crystalline chime, the celestial equivalent of an alarm, rang through the grove. Zorax's surface flickered with patterns Jade recognized as fear. We need to move. Now. They barely made it behind a massive crystal trunk when a patrol of Imperial guards swept through the area, their weapons charged with enough energy to shatter even celestial crystal flesh. The humans planned to steal our quantum fold technology, a harsh voice declared, First Minister Crystal. Our agents have confirmed it. We must strike first, destroy their nascent fleet before they become a true threat. And what of their ambassador? Another voice asked. A regrettable diplomatic incident is being arranged. After all, humans are known to be fragile. Jade felt Zorax's crystal hand close around hers, surprisingly warm. When the patrol passed, he pulled her deeper into the grove, through hidden passages that seemed to respond to his royal energy signature. They emerged in what appeared to be an ancient transportation hub, its surfaces dark with age. This is part of the old network. Zorax explained, his voice tight with urgency. From before we became so rigid in our ways, few remember it exists. Your people are planning to attack Earth, Jade said, the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. I have to warn my people. The warning won't come soon enough. Zorax's surface swirled with complex patterns. The quantum fold fleet is already gathering. But there's something else you need to know. This goes beyond just Earth. The Hardliners want to use this as an excuse to purge all primitive species from celestial space. Jade's mind raced through diplomatic protocols and emergency procedures, but none covered this scenario. Why tell me this? You're risking everything. Your position, your life. Because you've shown me that there's more to strength than crystalline perfection. He moved closer, his form casting prismatic lights across her dark skin. My people speak of resonance, the perfect alignment of crystalline structures. I never understood what that truly meant until I met you. A distant explosion rocked the ancient chamber. Jade's wrist computer flashed with alerts. The human quarter was under attack. They're moving faster than expected. Zorax's voice carried harmonics of anger. The Hardlunners must have discovered our meeting. Jade, you need to leave Celestia Prime immediately. And go where? They'll track any ship that leaves the system. Not this one. He pressed his hand to an ancient control panel, revealing a hidden bay where a sleek vessel sat. Its design unlike anything Jade had seen. It's from the old times, before we became what we are now. Its technology is different enough that their modern sensors won't detect it. Come with me, Jade said, surprising herself with the intensity of her plea. Your influence could help prevent this war. The lights beneath his surface created a pattern she'd never seen before, one of deep emotion and conflict. I can do more here. The Hardlunners don't know I've discovered their plot. I can work from within, try to stop this before it begins. He touched her face, and this time she felt the full resonance of his crystalline form harmonizing with her own bioelectric field. But first, I need to get you to safety. Another explosion, closer this time. Jade knew they were out of time. Years of diplomatic training warred with the emotions, surging through her heart. Whatever happens, she said, laying her hand against his crystalline chest, remember that humans don't give up easily, on our worlds or our loves. And remember, he replied, his voice carrying harmonics that seemed to touch her soul, that even crystals can change their structure when the right force acts upon them. The ancient ship hummed to life as Zorax quickly taught her its basic controls. As she prepared to board, he pressed a small crystal into her hand. A piece of my own form, he said. It will help guide you back when the time is right. The sound of Imperial guards grew closer. With one last look at the being who had transformed her understanding of both love and duty, Jade entered the ship. As its systems engaged, she caught a final glimpse of Zorax through the view screen, his crystalline form blazing with light as he prepared to face his own people. The ship slipped through ancient tunnels, emerging from a hidden launch bay into the star-filled sky. As Celestia Prime shrank behind her, Jade clutched the crystal to her heart, feeling its warm resonance. She had left to prevent a war, but now she would return to save not just her people, but the future of human-celestial relations. And perhaps, she thought as the ship entered the quantum fold, to prove that love truly could transform even the most crystalline of hearts. The Earth Alliance Command Center hummed with tension as Jade presented the crystal evidence of the celestial plot. Her week-long journey in the ancient ship had given her time to analyze the quantum resonance patterns stored within Zorax's crystal, data that proved the Hardliner's plans, and revealed something even more extraordinary about celestial biology. Their crystalline structure isn't fixed, she explained to the assembled leaders. It can adapt, evolve, even blend with other forms of life. The Celestials chose to stop changing, believing purity meant perfection. But some, like Zorax, are beginning to remember their species' true potential. Admiral Hassan stroked his beard thoughtfully. That's fascinating, Ambassador Williams, but it doesn't solve our immediate crisis. Our long-range sensors show the celestial fleet gathering. Jade touched the crystal at her neck. Not her grandmother's pendant now, but Zorax's gift. We don't need to fight. We need to remind them of who they once were. She unveiled her plan, using Earth's quantum communications network to broadcast evidence of ancient celestial organic species cooperation, proof that their isolation was a choice, not a necessity. But as they prepared to execute this strategy, her crystal suddenly pulsed with urgent energy. On Celestia Prime, Zorax faced the Imperial Council, his surface blazing with unprecedented patterns. Our ancestors didn't achieve greatness through isolation. His voice resonated through the chamber. They grew through connection, through change, through love. Heresy. First Minister Crystal's voice shattered crystal goblets. The prince has been corrupted by human influence. Seize him. But as guards approached, Zorax's form began to change. The crystal patterns that had marked celestial bodies for millennia shifted, transformed, became something new yet ancient. Other younger celestials in the chamber began to change too, their bodies remembering possibilities long forgotten. "We are not meant to be frozen in time," Zorax declared, his new form incorporating impossible organic patterns. "And we are not meant to fear those different from us." Back on Earth, Jade's crystal blazed in harmony with Zorax's transformation. Through their quantum resonance, she felt his struggle, his revelation, his love. Without hesitation, she stepped onto the quantum transmission platform. "Send me back," she commanded. "Now." Unity of two worlds. The quantum fold crackled with unprecedented energy as Jade materialized in the Imperial Council chamber. The scene before her was chaos transformed into beauty. Dozens of young celestials, in various stages of transformation, their crystalline bodies incorporating organic elements in a stunning display of natural art. Zorax stood at the center, his form now a perfect blend of crystal and organic matter, purple highlights dancing through patterns that reflected both his heritage and his evolution. When he saw Jade, his triple pupils dilated with joy. "Perfect timing," he said, extending a hand that was somehow both crystal and flesh. "I believe Earth's ambassador should witness the rebirth of celestial society." First Minister Crystal and her hardline supporters stood frozen. Their rigid crystal forms a stark contrast to the fluid beauty of the transformed youth. "This is impossible," she insisted, but her voice carried an undertone of wonder. Jade stepped forward, taking Zorax's hand. Where their flesh met, a soft glow emanated, the quantum resonance of two forms finding harmony. "Nothing is impossible," she said, addressing the entire council. "Evolution isn't just a biological process. It's a choice we make with our hearts and minds." Through their joined hands, Jade and Zorax initiated a quantum broadcast that reached every corner of both their civilizations. They shared not just the proof of ancient cooperation, but the living demonstration of what was possible when love transcended physical form. The celestial fleet, poised to attack Earth, received the broadcast. One by one, ships stood down as their crews witnessed the transformation of their prince and the truth of their heritage. The rigid crystals of tradition began to crack, not to destroy, but to allow new growth. In the days that followed, both civilizations underwent profound changes. The Earth Alliance welcomed celestial delegates with new understanding, while young celestials eagerly sought cooperation with organic species. Jade and Zorax's love became a symbol of this new era, proof that the universe's greatest strength lay not in purity, but in the beautiful complexity of connection. 1 year later, they stood together in the ancient grove where their destiny had first crystallized. Zorax's form shimmered with emotions that no longer needed hiding, while Jade's dark skin held traces of crystalline iridescence, a gift from their quantum resonance. "Our ancestors would be proud," Zorax said, his voice carrying harmonics of joy. "Not because we maintained their traditions, but because we dared to create new ones." Jade touched the crystal at her neck. Now permanently bonded with her own biology, "Love doesn't just change hearts," she replied. "It changes worlds." Around them, the crystal trees of the ancient grove pulsed with new life, organic flowers blooming from mineral branches in a perfect symbol of their union. Above, The three suns of Celestia Prime painted the sky in colours that seemed brighter than before, as if the universe itself celebrated the breaking of barriers and the triumph of love over fear. As Jade and Zorax sealed their union with a kiss that bridged species and space itself, their forms resonated with a harmony that promised a future neither of their peoples had imagined possible. They had proven that true love wasn't just about finding someone who completed you. It was about daring to become something entirely new together. Their story would be told across the galaxy for generations to come, not just as a tale of romance, but as proof that the greatest adventures begin when we open our hearts to impossible possibilities. For in their love, humanity and the Celestials found not just peace, but a new way of being, one that celebrated the infinite ways life could grow, change, and shine across the cosmic dance of existence.